everybody. Really glad to be with you this week, and I've got a couple of important events to tell you about that are occurring next week on November 20th and November 23rd. So first, I want to let you know that November 20th is the annual Trans Day of Remembrance, and it's not a celebration, it's a memorial and a call to action and a commemoration of trans people who have been taken from us, either through suicide, through violent deaths, and in many other ways. So the event is happening. There are several events. I know there's one in Peel region. There's one at the Parkdale Community Health Center also next week. But the one that I've got some information about that I'd like to tell you about today is one that's happening on Tuesday, November 20th from 7 until 9 p.m. at the 519 Church Street Community Center. And I'll just read you a little bit from the announcement about this event. They're inviting us to join them for an annual event which marks and commemorates those trans members of our communities who are no longer with us. This event serves as a memorial, a protest, an opportunity for reflection, and a chance to see old friends and meet new ones. And certainly I've been to this event in past years, and it brings together many people from right across the GTA. Violence, of course, is a very important issue in the trans community. Violence has impacted those communities and is not only an intentioned act, it is also an act of neglect. And violence affecting trans communities includes cuts to social spending and depleting the social safety net. So obviously at this memorial, speakers and hosts will be making connections between not only the kind of interpersonal violence that trans people experience on a daily basis, and the violence that trans people experience is more vicious often than non-trans people experience, cisgendered people experience. It is often more directed at them, at their gender identity. But violence impacting trans people includes the ever-decreasing pool of social services that leaves the marginalized members of society struggling on their own, without affordable housing, without access to nutritious food, without government, or without access to necessary health care services, without sympathy from a Canadian government that deports trans women and men to their countries of origin, even when violence will be waiting for them in their homelands. The impact of violence on trans communities is pervasive. For many, the vulnerability is constant. And it's really important to make those links between the kinds of systemic violence that is happening to marginalized people in our society and the interpersonal violence that trans people experience. So really glad to see those connections being made. Speakers that evening will talk about these things. They will also bring news of the tragedies that have happened to trans people around the world, as well as commemorate trans members of our community that we have lost in the last year. And one, of course, very prominent member of the trans community here in Toronto was Kyle Scanlon, and I know that people will have him on their minds, as well as many others. Just to remind you, the 519 Church Street Community Center is a wheelchair accessible space. They have accessible and gender neutral washrooms. The event will be ASL interpreted for the deaf and hard of hearing communities. And so it's again Tuesday, November 20th, the Trans Day of Remembrance in Toronto from 7 until 9 p.m. at the 519 Church Street Community Center. And of course that's at 519 Church Street in downtown Toronto. You can, if you'd like more information, you can contact Morgan Page at mpage@the519.org, and we'll put that up on the screen for you. So I hope to see some of you there. We'll definitely be in attendance. And speaking of cuts to social services and the impact that these cuts have on trans people and women, I'd like to tell you about another event coming up next week on Friday, November 23rd at 11 a.m. So this is a midday rally. We'll also have a little bit of a march and a women and trans delegation going to try to seek a meeting with Laurel Broughton. Laurel Broughton, as you know, is the Minister of Education, but she's also the Minister responsible for women's issues. And we are rallying that day because we want and expect Laurel Broughton to intervene with her boss, Dalton McGuinty, and with other members of the Liberal Party to stop the cut that has recently been imposed through the last Liberal budget, the Ontario budget, to stop the cut to the community startup and maintenance benefit. I believe I've talked with you about this before. The community startup and maintenance benefit was a benefit. The cut starts January 1st, 2013, so people still can apply for this benefit. But in the last Ontario budget, among other cuts, the government has decided to end this benefit. This is a benefit that could be accessed by people on Ontario Works and on ODSP once every 2 years. More often if it was an emergency and if it was if the person trying to access this benefit was a woman who was trying to escape violence, or any person trying to escape domestic violence. This, of course, was used particularly by women, and was something that was that in my personal experience and in many other people who work with marginalized women and women who've experienced violence, this was a benefit that women accessed constantly, particularly women trying to leave shelters to start a new life on their own with their kids in new housing. So of course the community startup provided an amount of, I think it's we've got some information about this, about $800 or $1,500 for an adult with children. This money could be used for first and last month's rent. It could be used to replace furniture or to get new furniture, change locks that need to be changed, and other things that replace furniture in the case of bed bugs, and other things that people who are trying to start their lives again could really use. And it was particularly targeted to people on Ontario Works and the ODSP. What's happened is the government has ended this benefit, and this follows, of course, the cut to the special diet benefit that people on OW and ODSP used to be able to access. This also was accompanied by a measly 1% increase in OW and ODSP rates, and the government had to be forced by community and by the opposition to even make that measly little increase. It also follows the decision by the government to delay the increase to the child benefit, another benefit that women in particular, and poor women, depend on to be able to pay the rent and feed their kids. So all of these cuts affecting the same group of people. The community startup, as I say, is the one that we're focusing on, but this rally is about all of those cuts and the impact that they're going to have on women who are experiencing violence. We're having this action on November 23rd because that comes just before the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, which of course is November 25th and is a date that is marked right around the world. So on November 23rd, because we want to try to take our concerns to the minister on a day when she'll be working, we want to take those concerns to her. We are meeting at the location of the Ontario Women's Directorate, which is 777 Bay Street, and that's at the southeast corner of Bay and College Streets in downtown Toronto. We're going to have speakers, particularly women who have used this benefit in the past, who are in positions where they'll need this benefit in the future. We're going to have some music. We're going to have lots of chants and signs and open mic. This is a child-friendly event. We're going to have a little bit of, we're going to have some soup and bread and coffee for folks to keep them warm. We've got tokens available for those that need the TTC help. We'd like to encourage you to bring banners, signs, anything that you would like to bring that demonstrates your opposition to this cut to the community startup and the continuing pressure on people on OW and ODSP. The marginalization, what this is going to do is it's going to lead to more women deciding that they have to stay in abusive relationships because they haven't got the resources and the money that they need to be able to move out on their own. This is combined, of course, with a terrible shortage of affordable daycare in this city, terrible shortage of affordable housing, years-long waiting lists for people. All of this serves to keep people trapped in isolation, keep them trapped in abuse, and keep them trapped in conditions that are unacceptable in Canada. We are a very rich nation and we have enough money. There are ways that we can raise more money, particularly from corporations and wealthy individuals that are not paying their share. And what we see our governments at all levels, but particularly right now at the provincial level, we're seeing governments turn to poor people and marginalized people to pay for the mistakes and the follies of the rich and the speculators and the banks. So this is something that we've got to get out there. I invite you to join us on November 23rd, 11 a.m., 777 Bay Street. This is a Women in Trans Day of Action to stop the cut to community startup. As I say, we're going to rally there, and then we're going to walk up the street to 900 Bay Street, and a smaller delegation of women is going to go in and try to deliver our concerns to the minister directly at her offices at 900 Bay Street. So we invite you to join us there. If you want to get involved or if you'd like more information, you can contact OCAP at tao.ca, 416-925-6939. We'll put this up on the screen for you, and I'm going to be hosting the event that day. So really hope that you can join us. Come say hello. Find out more about what the impact of this cut is going to be, and please let the minister know that we expect her to act on behalf of women and trans people who experience violence. We need to see her taking action. So let's be out there and make our voices loud and support women who are going to try to take that message to her on November 23rd. Thanks a lot. See you then.